Now then, where was I? The children that were scattered about the floor of the common room looked attentively at the old man, waiting for a tale of faraway lands and heroic exploits. Waterdeep. You were at Waterdeep. I suppose we were at the beginning then. The underdog, the grove, the sea, the palace, they all converged right there.
Harold, have you ever seen so many different kinds of people in such a big place? How hard could it be to find somebody that knows where Tailwind is?
You're a miracle, boy.
I shake my head and quietly to myself say, there's no such thing as miracles.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you a running start. I'll count to 30. 1, 2.
30, and then I'm gonna run at him and attack him.
Fair's fair. You told me your history. I was born on that boat. Huh? That ship that your friend is dissecting.
I absolutely hate how chipper you always are.
And it'd be a good look on you, though.
If it's a riddle, I want to solve it. If it's a lock, I want to open it.
How do I make this quick? I'm a holy woman, and I'm looking for things that were taken from me and my people.
They could not begin to fathom the situation that they found themselves in.
All right, somebody go.
We got out of the grasping eyes, like hitting the secret treasure trove,
and then we went back to the golden owl and are processing our trauma. I think we ended with me and Hawke opened the box, and that was the moment they found out they fucked up.
Bretta Breitling didn't make it.
Yep.
Or press F in the chat. Pay respects.
Yeah.
MacLeod had a cool near-death experience.
Died. R.I.P.
Was this the
R.I.P. love?
Cal threw himself into the sea to avoid having to deal with magic. Was rescued by a filthy Meg. I think that's where we left him, right?
I think so, yeah. What was Elerie doing?
Dead.
Oh yeah, Illyri's dead.
Right, yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
But seeing things and doing still things are happening, so that's quite exciting.
She's getting resurrected.
I got real quick.
All necromified.
It was interesting seeing Title Boom again.
Title screen.
Title screen.
Excuse me, his name is Timblybomb. Timbit.
Oh wow. Why do I try with the NPCs? Their names.
I had that nightmare though. I saw their face glaring at me. And so, I got to think about that a little bit. So
a bunch of ghosts and stuff.
Oh, June got into a fight with a bunch of big dudes trying to get her, get her patootie into the warehouse after she joined a gang.
Also, for our viewers who are like, oh man, I wanted to see the heist. You will see the heist. Don't you worry, my lovelies. You will. Just be patient.
Yeah, she ran and hid in the shack. The love shack. No, I'm kidding. Wow, Matt, that laugh was teetering off of evil. No, it
just caught me by surprise. Sorry,
you were
me playing with a butterfly knife and also adding Bass Pro Shops e-gift card to my Christmas wish list clearly unlocked something.
Do you even have that in England?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay.
No, we don't. If anyone
right next
gets
to the
me,
Olive Garden.
Yeah. And the Buffalo Wild Wings. If anyone gets me, there is a few real things in this and 90% not, and it will be down to you to decipher.
I mean, we do have Bass Pro Shops here, so if you really wanted to go get like an archery range or something, a fishing rod.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not. We do have. Remember, we watched that Curtis Connor video where he went to Bass Pro Shop.
I love Curtis Connor.
Guys, if you ever come to the States, I will give you the American Midwestern strip mall experience of a lifetime, complete.
Gotta go to Walmart.
We got a Walmart at like
I think
3 a.m.
Momo's already been to Walmart and she
we
got
have
experience.
Walmart. We had Target
Your Walmart's
for a
classy though.
I don't know about that.
Compared to
ours, yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I just miss. We had Target for a little bit, which was like aesthetically pleasing Walmart, and then it went bankrupt, and now we no longer have Target. So there's just this weird abandoned Target a few blocks down from my house with the red balls out front and stuff. And it's just
that sounds so fresh. Is it abandoned?
I can't believe Target went bankrupt.
Oh, we have to absolutely break in when I come visit.
I don't know if we can it's not like a haunted house. Like it's still like boarded up and stuff. We'd have as much trouble breaking into there as we would a Target that was open. It's still brand new, which is why it's so weird because it was only here for a couple of months.
It's interesting that Target didn't make it in Canada. I would figure if any of
Target's
those businesses were gonna make it, Target would make it.
Yeah, I feel like it might have been like a poor decision on their part because like everybody loved Target when it was here, to my knowledge.
Huh?
I don't know. I just know I miss it. I loved Target. This is another thing you guys don't have in America, and I am so sorry for you.
Calzones?
No, this is a Pizza Pop, a Canadian exclusive. It's a little bit like a Hot Pocket, except a million times better. This, my friends, is my favorite shit food. And it's the reason I am most likely not moving to the UK with Matt, because they don't have them. I remember the first time I ever left the country, I brought 3 boxes of these to share. I love this shit so much.
I think we have like the Pizza Hut version.
Yeah, it looks like an empanada, but
Pizza Pop. If you want to sponsor a podcast, please, I beg of you, Pizza Pops, sponsor Realms Apart. Please send me Pizza Pops.
I have known you for 5 years. I've stayed at your home. You have never introduced me to this, and now I'm angry.
Oh, wow.
It's a Canadian exclusive.
It's a Canadian
Mike. You are American.
Canadian.
Americans don't get them. Period.
They card you. They
It's a
card you
law
at
in
the checkout to make
Canada.
sure you're...
I also avoid getting them because it is just microwavable dough and cheese. Like, these are not good for you at all, but I'm staying with my family for quarantine, and my mom keeps buying them for me.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that my other D&D group doesn't listen to this.
Why?
Because there is a ongoing battle about Totino's pizza rolls.
Oh, good.
And, and that D&D group is obsessed with Totino's pizza rolls.
They're good.
Pizza rolls.
To the point where we've named characters after them.
You know what I do? You know what I do? If I don't put them in the oven to get them crispy, I pop them in the microwave, right? And I suck the pizza like concoction out of it, and then I eat the dough shell afterward.
Delicious. Ungodly.
I suck it out of every single one, so then I just have a bowl.
Hyper, you realize you eat your pizza rolls like a spider queen, right?
Yes.
Plot twist.
Nox, I was gonna ask, did you notice anything about some of our attire?
No, I did. I know you're all wearing Christmas jumpers. It does it. I'm very happy that you're happy.
Nox, but look though, it's a Halloween one. It's bats.
Okay, so
mine's a kitty and he has a bow.
Thank you.
Right, they win.
Guys, we can't do the Macy's Day Parade this year because of COVID.
Oh.
When I lived in New York, my friend and I tried to do it, and there's no restrooms.
Yeah.
That's
right.
I am when I'm in New York. Like,
Just
I never
slowly-
go to the first places.
Don't go to those places, but let's go to another place.
Yeah.
Good segue.
So
very clean.
As I try.
And moving on.
I'm going to set the scene, and then you're going to go with the scene. And whatever happens within that scene is now canon, and we're gonna go with it. So don't feel like you have to follow some idea in your head of how something worked before. There will be some changes, just simply so that we can streamline the narrative to the point where it's going to take us to where we need to go. I want everybody to have a good time, and I'm really excited to be playing again. I think that the first thing that we should do is find a meditative minute or two to kind of focus on where our characters were last and to begin to think about where they're going to end up. If you are listening right now to Roll20, you'll hear a couple of different sounds, and I've tested my Syrinscape. It looks like it's working pretty well. And this will be where we begin. Doddle's small hands are pressed up against the cool, smooth surface of the red lacquered box. Still weary from the journey that has brought you here, and from the combat that has occurred, to free this prize from those who had hidden it so far away, Doddle breathes out. Hawke is standing close by, and in the darkened room that is just now being speckled with the light from the window to the far side of the tavern room, across the neatly made, unslept-in bed, and the mess of torn pillows that Harold has shredded to make a bed for himself. She has nested within this space and quietly looks at the two characters across the room. Its lid reveals beneath a glowing orb of water, perfectly formed. And within it, an unimaginably beautiful goldfish that swims in circles, seemingly oblivious to the world outside of its prison. Its circular pathway unmarred by anything other than crystal blue water. It is inset in a soft, silken-lined box. And as it glows there, and the light shines itself upon both Doddle and Hawke as they look down, curiously, neither of them aware of how drastically and desperately it would change their lives. As the box is opened, however, there is a shudder. A spark of change in the air as the weave of magic shudders. Doddle, you are aware of what has occurred. And as the box is opened, a series of faint glyphs begin to fade away.
You felt that, right, Doddle?
Uh-huh.
What just happened?
A mistake.
Why is it a goldfish? What the fuck is this goldfish?
It's beautiful.
Why were they guarding it?
Hawke, whatever just happened, somebody already knows about it.
What?
There was a spell on the box, and
I know somebody's tracking it, right? Or was I just aware that there was an alarm that sounded?
Make an Arcana check.
Do I have any idea of what just happened as well?
27.
Doddle knows that.
Yeah, Doddle immediately recognizes it. I don't feel that Hawks saw the glyphs as clearly as Doddle did.
I'm closer to him. I'm small.
What you know by looking at the glyphs that have now faded completely away, Doddle, is that was an alarm spell of some sort, but an altered, more powerful form of it. It is not magic that you are acquainted with, and you feel that while there are similarities to other spells that you're aware of, there are some very specific differences, and the strength of the magical shudder that occurred when the box was opened is still reverberating through you, and your tiny hands are shaking with the residual energy that was released upon the opening of the box.
I already feel like I'm gonna cry. Oh.
Okay. What exactly was that spell?
I don't know, but I know. I know we're in danger.
I do convey to Hawke what Nox just told me. I'm just freaking out. Okay.
Hawke, maybe we should go get the others.
Yeah, we should. Fuck. Oh god. What do we tell Phil Scratch?
I don't know.
Scratch? Fuck. Is Phil Scratch gonna be the one to kill us? Alright, yeah, let's get the others. Yeah, here, you go get Maglo, I'll get No, you get Suray, I'll get Maglo. Or we both go together.
I will stay with the box. You go get Maglo and Suray.
Right. Just stay right here. We're gonna be okay. Alright?
Okay.
Hawke is lying right now, by the way. I'll be right back. And I'm gonna head down the hall. I don't know whose room is closer, Maglo's or Suray's.
You open the doorway. As you open the door, you are confronted by a familiar face. The large turtle barkeep, Orwell Merchrot, is present, standing there on the other side of the door. Held within his large, ponderous hands are a series of rolled towels and a basket full of small breads and jams and breakfasting items. And as you open the door, you nearly run into him.
Hey, Orwell, how's it going, buddy? How you doing? I'm blocking the doorway and everything. I can take the tray off your hands.
I was just making my way here to see the young wizard Doddle. I understand that each of you has undergone a harrowing situation.
I have 2 questions. Did Hawke close the door, and can I still hear all of this regardless?
You can hear all of this. Hawke is blocking the door so that Orwell can't see in, and you can kind of see parts of Orwell from between Hawke's legs.
Okay, can I say as soon as I hear Orwell's voice, I start crying?
Yes, you certainly can. Yeah, you begin crying over the box.
For everyone playing the drinking game at home, Doddle crying. Take a drink.
You will not survive from Master Hawke, I also have word that Phineas Fiddlescratch is on his way and wishes to speak with you and your companions as soon as possible.
That's great. That is the best thing I could have heard right now. Thanks, Orwell. As you can tell, Doddle's having a rough go of things, so I can take that off your hands and...
Here you are. These towels should make a better bed for Harold. And I've gathered some of the best baked breads and jellies from the kitchen. I made them myself and thought that little Doddle might appreciate them.
He gives you the basket and the towels and turns and starts walking away, and he moves painfully slowly. But there's a relaxed serenity in every movement. Every step has determination and a great deal of thought behind it. And he makes his way to the stairs, and you're holding on to these items and you're blocking the doorway, but it's at least a minute before he makes his way through the hallway to the run that leads down.
Before he leaves, I'm just like holding the tray, and I look like a Muppet on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Like when their lips go like inside their mouth.
Like, Mr. Orwell, you're a very kind man. Thank you,
Orwell
sir.
Just like slowly turns his head, and it doesn't take much because his neck, like most tortoises, kind of cranes out from his shell, and so he's able to turn it in ways that others might not be able to who didn't have this advantage. But he turns his head as he's still walking forward very slowly, and his big, enormous, dark, watery eye kind of like meets you from one side of his face.
I appreciate that, young master. I see a great deal of kindness in your heart as well. It's good that you're here now inside the owl. We'll take good care of you.
And he turns and starts moving down the stairs away from you. Doddle, you've heard all of this as it's echoed through the warm, aged wooden hallway into your bedchamber. The window is still open. The daylight now is streaming in, and the room isn't quite as dark as it was. Harold has stood up, and she's now pecking curiously at the floor and starting to search out some sort of food, starting to look kind of curiously towards Hawke as the smell of fresh baked bread wafts into the room from the basket that Hawke is holding.
Can I grab Hawke's pant leg and just say, Hawke, what if Orwell gets hurt? What if the golden owl gets hurt? Just like Bretta, what if you get hurt? I just promised that I was going to protect you, and I think I've messed that up already.
I put the tray to the side, I kneel down, and I just wrap Doddle in a hug. You saw the pictures on the walls, you've seen the shields. They are going to be just fine, okay?
As the two of you are embracing each other, the glow from the open box continues to wash across you. And despite Hawke's words, Doddle, something fills you with a terrifying sense of dread. Meanwhile, Suray, you have already left. You have followed the back alleys and have reached out to all of the underworld contacts that you have. You have a great amount of treasure that has been gathered because of your latest exploit. You and the rest of the group have not only retrieved the box that Fiddle Scratch requested, but you also retrieved a steamer trunk, a treasure chest that was filled with alchemical and spell components of great rarity and value. You've managed to estimate the general cost of these items, and you know that it is enough to make all of you very wealthy. If you never underwent another adventure again, you would still be able to live comfortably into very old age. And as an elf, that is a very interesting prospect for you. Your life and your lifespan is very long. You're moving through the streets and you are working your way towards the Court of Stars. The Court of Stars is a central fixture within the Southern Ward. It is much like the rest of the Southern Ward, worn and well used. Small marketplaces have opened around the courthouses and the more official buildings that have been built here. There is an enormous keep at the center of the Court of Stars. This is the Magister's Keep, and it specifically is the central hub for both justice and for rulership within this portion of the city. It is more openly harsh than it has been in past years. And as the years have progressed, it has, at least in the Southern Ward, become customary for those punishments to be more outward facing. However, the mercantile area that has risen outside of the keep is a central point to much of the city's business. Merchants from all around the world often find themselves here. This area specifically holds some of the most bizarre and illicit items. You know that this is your best opportunity to try to find a buyer that will discreetly remove the collection of spell components from you and your companions. You have traveled along with the cart and horse that you and your companions have acquired. You're making your way through the streets, and you have spoken to a number of the broadsheet sales folk that are parked
the little boys that pretend to be sick and get pity on people.
Yeah, there are a great many of the broadsheet sales folk who are con artists. They're usually orphaned children that have been left on the streets of Waterdeep that have been taken in by the various thieves guilds. And they have been trained to not only work as spies within the city, but also to function as a repository for information amongst networks of underworld contacts. While the broadsheets themselves often hold hidden clues and information about the city and the underworkings of it, the individuals selling them are often an even wider storehouse of information. And the contact that you usually reach when you're here in this part of the city is a young man known as Jack Puncher, who works out of what is known as Holbrandt's record keeping. Yes.
I'm gonna go there, see what they know, if they can help me out. Get rid of this box.
So you start driving through the street, and as you're making your way, there's crowds that are moving about. There are a number of horses, and there are armored individuals and guards that are moving about. But generally, the deeper you go into the Court of Stars, the harder it becomes to see the sky above you, as there are bright canopies of fabric that are hung overhead. And they're thin enough to allow the glow of the daylight to come down, but it takes the harshness out of the sun. Today, for the first time in recent memory, Waterdeep is not beset with heavy rainfall. The sun, while out, is still muted, however, by clouds, and the air is very crisp. But as you're moving along, driving the horse forward, a shiver works its way down your spine, and you're not able to explain it. But all of a sudden, you feel cold. And the shadows on the street, for a brief moment, seem to reach out towards you. You quickly shrug this off.
Broadsheets! Broadsheets here! I got your broadsheets! Learn about all of the masked ladies and lords working their way about the city of Waterdeep. Hildebrandt's is the best broadsheet you can find. Within its pages, you will learn things that will curl your toes and titillate your sense of interest.
I'm gonna walk up to this kid.
Oh, hello, Mum. Would you like a broadsheet?
Maybe you could help me.
Oh, yes. I recognize you, Mum. If I am so bold as to say, you and we have spoken in the past, have we not?
Yes, we have.
It's so good to see you again. I have to ask, though, is your business here just for the broadsheets? Or would you like to learn what their pages hold?
I would like to... I'm looking for a certain writer of the broadsheets.
Quite understood, quite understood. Why don't you come with me around the corner here to where I hold all of the broadsheets, and we'll get you sorted right out, ma'am.
Perfect. And I'll follow.
The young boy who's leaning heavily on a cane or on a crutch pulls. It's just a rough-looking stick-like crutch. Walks himself very carefully around the back, slowly
times have been tough, Mum. Your generosity will make things so much better for me.
I'm sure they will.
The two of you walk around the corner, and the Jack immediately shifts his stance and then turns to you. So then, let's get to business, shall we?
Please, I'm looking for a place to get rid of some goods.
Understood.
As discreetly as possible.
Well, it all depends on what sorts of goods you're trying to sell, Mum.
Magical components, alchemical components. They seem to be very rare.
I do have a number of suggestions for you, but to be honest, Suray, I think you already know where you need to go.
Who? I need this discreet.
I'm telling you, you may not get discretion necessarily, Suray, but Rosie is by far the best alchemist within this ward of the city, and if you wish to remove yourself of these components quickly and at a fair price...
I'm sorry, maybe you're confused. I've never heard of a Rosie before.
You've never heard of Glimmerspark's gyms?
No.
And you've been here in the city how long?
Not as long as you seem to think.
It's funny because my information, Suray, tells me otherwise.
Well, your information is wrong. I'm sure a lot of your information about me is wrong.
I bet you would like to believe that, Suray. I'm sorry, Mum.
It's quite all right. Well, thank you for the information.
That will be 2 gold.
Would it?
Are you buying a broadsheet or not, Mum?
I'm buying a broadsheet, but you so nicely gave me that information.
I think you are mistaken, Mum. I sold you that information, and if you wish to welch on an arrangement, by all means, I can let all of our collective allies know, and your word here will be worth nothing.
I will happily pay your fee.
You're about to be very rich if what you say is true, so a little generosity to some of us who are very ill-disposed as young, impressionable orphans would be much appreciated.
I completely understand. Well, here's a tip, and I'll pull out the gold and I'll hand him the gold that he asked. Like, next time when you have valuable information, wait until there's money already in your hand before you give it.
Of course. What a great rule. So would you like to know where to go?
Oh, you already told me.
I did, but you have never heard of the individual and have no idea how to find her.
Glimmersparks. That's all I have to look for.
Yeah, oh, by all means, go ahead. Good luck.
Thank you for all of your information. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Mom, when you can't find it and you need to come back to me to ask for directions, be sure to bring your coin purse back with you.
Of course. And I'll turn and leave.
Fare thee well. And the young man kind of picks up the crush and then kind of slowly walks back out, shouting for broadsheets. His demeanor changing once again to a very put-upon, sad orphan.
I'm gonna get back on my cart. I'm just gonna look at the other stores and see if I see any of a sign for it.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna make this a roll for you.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me a survival check?
Survival? All right.
Yeah, it's urban survival. You're searching for a location you've never been to before in a very crowded area of the city.
Okay.
You've lived in a city, Fab, you know.
Yeah. 9.
You get lost.
Okay, so I'm lost.
You said that with such a fuck you tone of voice. It's kind of amazing.
It was implied. It was implied.
Oh my god.
Clearly I don't find it.
Yeah, so you're wandering around. I'm just gonna let you continue to search as you spend a few hours driving the cart around the crowded streets of the Court of Stars.
Okay.
All right? And then we'll come back to you.
Great.
Elerie.
Oh, goodness.
It's very dark. There's a heaviness in the air as you begin to open your eyes. You're in a strange tunnel. It smells like a crypt, and the heavy stones are claustrophobically closing in around you. Your eyes are now open, and you're lying in a pool, a thin pool of water that is salty and smells of the sea. You yourself are drenched, and this is not uncomfortable to you. It is, given your heritage, albeit half of a sea elf, you do still carry the blood of the ocean with you wherever you go. But as you open your eyes, you inadvertently pull your hand up to your neck and gasp for air for a moment, but there is no wound, and you feel no pain.
I listen to hear if there's anything moving around immediately near me, like a sign of life or somebody I should be startled by or something.
You look about, and off in the far distance, further down this long stone corridor, is a flickering torchlight. Everything else is dark.
There's so much to consider right now. Elerie is kind of just is very startled to be awake even, so she's just kind of like, oh, okay. She gets up and just immediately I guess she's gonna just start powering through and just move towards that light.
As you begin approaching the flickering torchlight, Elerie, you realize that there is a very slight and careful shuffle of footsteps. As you begin to approach the entrance, you realize that at least one other individual is within.
Illyri's gonna want to perhaps like hug up against the wall and maybe like get a little bit lower to the ground so that she can listen to this other person.
Make a stealth check for me, please, Elerie. A 16 is very good. So you carefully and quietly press yourself up against the wall, and you begin creeping closer. What you realize is that someone is waiting for you to enter from that chamber. Someone has pressed themselves up the opposite side of the wall and are waiting to ambush whoever comes out of the corridor that you are currently within.
All right, well, let's beat him to it. If it's possible, I would like to reverse ambush them. Or I don't want to hurt the person. I would just want to, like, if possible, like grapple them.
Yeah, so you can grapple, but you are attacking. It's still an attack. You're going to roll your athletics as you leap forward, trying to grab them and pull them to the side. Okay, and they're going to roll their athletics to try to deny that, and they succeed. So here's what happens. You did act on a surprise because you have leapt unbeknownst to them around this corner where they were expecting someone to come down this corridor a little more forcibly, and you have very clearly taken them aback as immediately you jump forward, and all you see is a blur of movement and a cloak of very fine and light color, and the butt of a very finely crafted sword hilt.
Oh, sorry. You said finely crafted butt.
Yeah, the finely crafted hilt of a sword blade. The haft of the sword intersects with your temple, and you are struck by it. And you take 2 points of damage.
All right.
As you feel your head ring, and the individual that is standing there to the side repositions themselves and points a sword towards you. you see before you an armored individual wearing a helm of very fine make and very artful craftsmanship. There is a cloak that has been somewhat soiled, but is still nonetheless made from a very fine, light fabric. It is very, very pale, very, very soft lavender in color. And the individual stands before you and levels a sword to your neck. You can make a history check if you'd like.
Yes, I would like to.
So you got a 12 on your history check, and while you don't know specifically the history behind all of this sword is of a very, very old elven make.
Obviously, seeing somebody in full kit and a sword pointing at her throat, it's all starting to like add up to her that this is, the things that got her into the situation she just came out of, and perhaps maybe she shouldn't have leapt forward to attack somebody in this much armor. So she's just gonna like kind of withdraw a little bit, perhaps like take a step back. What are you doing down here? No, I don't understand any of that. How do I get out of here? Do you know which way to go?
Oh, ow.
Oh no.
You take 9 points of damage as the sword pierces into your shoulder and pins you to the wall. You feel blood begin to gush out of the wound. Their sword has pierced through your shoulder. The pain is very, very palatable as it just washes through your body quickly and unexpectedly. You, however, find some satisfaction in the fact that you feel that pain. You are able to connect now, and for some reason there was this echo of dull emptiness that has been washed out of you now.
How close is the individual to me?
They're about 2.5 feet away from you.
Can I kick my way out of this situation?
You can certainly try.
I mean, I'm pinned to the wall by this sword, so clearly half of me is not going anywhere, but I'm gonna try and like kick the sword out of their hand just so I can get out of it, if possible.
Okay, so you can make an unarmed strike then. So you connect, barely, but you connect with the individual as they're standing before you, and you kick them. How much damage does that do?
Strength modifier, +2.
Okay, so you do 2 points of damage, knocking them backwards. They let go of the sword and kind of like stumble back. You are currently holding the sword with your hands, your shoulders there, and you're still pinned up against the wall though. However, they've moved back and they kind of move with you, the momentum of your kick, and you can tell that they're very highly trained in the combat arts, as immediately this armored individual pushes themselves across the way. You cannot see their face because of this finely crafted helmet. However, they then lean forward and begin moving closer to you.
Can I grab the sword and point it towards them? Like, is it possible to like rip it out? And because they've let go of it, but it's still in me, so it's mine now.
Can you make a medicine check?
Yeah.
You easily pull the sword out. You do no further damage to yourself, and you actually are able to do it in a way where the bleeding is minimized. So you are not bleeding as heavily as you would be if you had forcibly pulled this out. But you now have the sword in your hand. Did you say that you were hoping to be able to point it at them?
Point at them, and I just want to yell like, "Stop!" I just want directions out of here, please.
The figure seems to just stop for a moment. Doesn't seem to be able to understand what you're saying, but does listen briefly for a moment before throwing a dagger at you. The dagger actually, you step out of the way just in time as the dagger flies past your face and hits the wall behind you. You have the sword in your hand. The individual standing before you They look like they're about to continue to press the attack. What do you want to do?
This person's in it to kill me, so I'm just gonna kill them. They're not gonna give me directions. I can't run out of here. Or if I tried to run, they're gonna come after me. Although they do.
There are
run.
3 other passages in this cavern. One that is directly in front of you, one to the right, and one to the left. Also the passageway behind you that you just came from. In the center is the torch that's lying on the ground burning.
Elere's gonna fight this person because they were waiting for her.
So if you're going to make an attack with a sword, go ahead and roll to strike. 23 is definitely going to hit. I'm rolling damage for you, Elerie. You have inflicted 17 points of damage as you swing forward with this sword. It is a very finely crafted longsword. You press forward and find the perfect point in the armor to push past, and it presses into the side of the individual as they are lunging forward trying to grapple with you now. However, both of you fall to the ground. The attack flings them forward, which presses the sword through further, and immediately blood, hot and warm, begins to cover your hands as the sword is thrust into their side. And you hear a very clear intake of air, and while the individual doesn't shout or seem to vocalize their pain, it is clear that you have dealt a very grievous wound upon them. So the 2 of you are still on the ground. Now, this individual, while heavily wounded, is going to very desperately and quickly try to grab onto you and press you away, grabbing the sword from you. Would you like to make an athletics check to see if you can withhold yourself within the grapple?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you tied.
Oh no.
Neither of you do anything as you continue to struggle on the ground. You can feel their blood pouring heavily upon you. We'll come back to you. Juniper, you are quietly praying. Your knees are pressed into the warm earth, and there are dried leaves and pine needles scattered out about you. The air is very sharp with the smell of autumn, and the sky is clear. There's a sense of serenity and comfort here. Before you are the stones of your shrine, here within the glade that you have spent so many years training within. This is your temple. This is your church. As a follower of Sylvanus, this is the holiest of places, where the veil between the worlds of the prime material plane gently rake across the lush and verdant realms of the Oaken Father. As you pray, all memory of the world that you have found yourself within has disappeared. You are safe. You are secure. You feel as if you are at home. The trees are gently moving overhead. Their branches are bristling in the very gentle wind. As you conclude your prayer and look up, motes of dust float across your vision, and the air is full with the fragrant smells of the coming winter. That sense of serenity and that empty sense of memory begins to echo, and you begin to remember. And as you do, everything around you begins to change and shudder. The grove melts and disappears around you, and you are pressed within a filthy alleyway, surrounded by the refuse and midden heaps of the city, and the air is stagnant and twisted. There is illness here. There is the smell of heavy smoke and metal. Rats scurry about, trailing with them pools of illness covered in the open weeping sores of the disease that has racked through their horde. Traveling on into the other darker places of the city to carry whatever fetid disease they bear within themselves. Your prayer, however, does not change. And sitting before you in your exhausted state, you stare at the shield that you have recovered. The most sacred and holy of artifacts that your church has held. This shield is the glory of Sylvanas and has existed within your glade for as long as time can stretch. There are none that have either trained you or spoken in the oral tradition of your church that do not recall a time when it was within the borders of the Circle Grove that you have lived within. That was before your temple was raided. Before harsh strangers from the outside entered into the groves and sullied that sacred place, seeking artifacts of great power for unknown purposes, taking that which was not theirs and leaving your grove burnt, destroyed, empty. Now you are within the city, and the rains surround you. But it does nothing to wash the stink away from this place. It does nothing to dull the sense of hatred and humanity that linger all about you. But now that you have regained the shield, you feel something that you have not felt in many months. A connection to your God. Stronger than it has been for many cycles. It is as if being able to breathe after nearly drowning. And as you pray here in this filthy alley, the shield is propped up against the wall next to you, and you see the small green sprouts growing across the cobblestone. And for the briefest of moments, you smell glade once more. You have not slept as you have been pursued by the city watch. You have not found sanctuary. You have continued to move through the streets, not staying in any one place for very long. And desperate now, you have cautioned a moment to try to connect. Make a religion roll, please.
8.
Desperately reaching out with your heart and your spirit, grasping on to that sense of presence that you feel with the artifact before you. You fall short. The small green sprouts wither and die as the sound of dogs barking further down the alley ring out. You hear armor shuffling, and somewhere in the sky above you hear the screech of one of the Griffin Riders. They're getting close. What would you like to do?
She feels so much dread as the little bit of her home that was growing starts dying again. And she snatches that shield up and we book it. So we run.
You begin running down the alleyway. Are you being quick or are you being careful?
She's exhausted, so I feel like she's being quick.
All right, that's good to know. Make an athletics check for me, please.
17.
Despite your exhaustion, you do manage to push forward, continuing to run quickly through the alleyway, and you dodge and leap over a number of discarded crates, pushing yourself further towards a large, busy street on the far side of this alley. Behind you, you hear the dogs chasing after you. It seems as if they've been set free. As you run closer towards the busy street, you have an option. You can either attempt to find a place to hide, or you can run into the street and attempt to evade your followers.
She's like a wild animal. She runs and doesn't try to hide at all. She just runs.
Okay, so make another athletics check as you begin pushing your way through the street, leaping past other carts and horses and individuals moving through the crowded city street. And as you do, you are nearly trampled by a horse and cart. And the individual driving the cart, some sort of farmer who's carrying a large storehouse of grain on the back of his cart, he pulls the reins back quickly, and his horse nearly topples over as the cart itself spins in the muddy street, and the wheel cracks, and the cart tumbles down forward as you roll into the mud. And you hear the dogs as they leap out of the alleyway, two of them, large mastiff-type creatures. They have spiked collars, and you see silhouettes of individuals chasing after them from the alleyway. You're currently lying in the mud as the rain drops down around you. The farmer is shouting obscenities at you, and other individuals have turned. All eyes are upon you in the middle of the street.
Her head is spiraling, and she just, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And she tries to pick herself back up out of the mud.
The two dogs are upon you. One of them leaps forward, and you pull yourself back as it hits the ground next to you, growling. Its slavering teeth are exposed, and its eyes seem fierce as it barks loudly. The second, however, as you are distracted by the first, lands upon you. I need you to make an athletics or an acrobatics check, whichever you prefer.
21.
You plant your feet firmly down and withstand the heavy push of the beast as it pummels you, pressing itself against you. Its jaw wraps around your wrist, and you take 5 points of bite damage as it pierces through your arm. And you feel blood, hot, flow from the wound as the dog clamps its heavy jaw around your arm, trying to slow you down. Two individuals emerge from the alleyway. One of them holding a crossbow, the other has a sword drawn with a shield. In the name of the masked lords, surrender. You have been caught.
She does what she can. She casts Death Ward on herself just to protect herself.
Okay. You reach into yourself. Immediately, it creates a protective shield that you feel move across you. And you're there in the street as the rain washes across you. Okay, so let's take our break here. We're pretty much there, so everybody can use the restroom.
Around.
I'm going to throw up.
Oh, honey.
Throw up.
Hawke, as the smell of fresh baked bread wafts into the room from the basket that Hawke is holding.
Can I grab Hawke's pant leg and just say, Hawke, what if Orwell gets hurt? What if the golden owl gets hurt? Just like Bretta, what if you get hurt? I just promised that I was going to protect you, and I think I've messed that up already.
I put the tray to the side, I kneel down, and I just wrap Doddle in a hug. I like pat her on the back of the head, and I just whisper in her ear, "You saw the pictures on the walls. You've seen the shields. They've been through plenty of rodeos, probably more than us. They are going to be just fine, okay?"